A part of the reason why Piggy was such a hit on Roblox was because of the story of the game. And this story started off as a joke, but later became an actual proper story with quite deep lore. As most stories do, the Piggy story, especially early on, teased a lot of the things that were going to be introduced later. And as you could guess, a lot of people tried to solve the clues, and some of them ended up having quite solid theories, but some of them were either disproven later on in the story or just complete nonsense. In this video, I'm going to be going over the dumbest Piggy theories people actually made. Now, a lot of these theories were made during Book 1, because no one really knew much about the story back then. So without further ado, let's get started. The first theory is the TSP theories. Back in Book 1, Chapter 9, a couple of notes here and there mentioned TSP. So people were very eager and tried to figure out what the initials TSP stood for. Now, it was obvious that TSP was a group of some sort. Well, now we know that TSP stands for the Silver Paw, but we didn't know that back 5 years ago. People thought it stood for the Super Potato, which I'm sure was a joke, but a lot of people genuinely, though, those were the actual meaning. The main reason this theory was even made was because the Sewer Potato was a character in Peppa Pig, so people thought it might have something to do with TSP. This one was pretty much just a joke, unlike the 7 potions. A note in Outpost read, "I've only made 7 potions. Why is everybody turning like them?" Or something along the lines of that. This was pretty dumb because why would a group name themselves after such an absurd thing? Moreover, why would they name their group after the very thing that sent the world into an apocalypse? Next up is... the Clowny theories involve people trying to figure out who Clowny was. The theory was that Clowny was either Vindy Wolf from Peppa Pig or Pony. Both of these are kind of bad theories because, first of all, if it was Pony, how? How and why would Pony have clown makeup, wield a toy hammer and chase the player around, and suddenly be in the end cutscene? Pony being Clowny doesn't really make sense to me. But the other guess was that Vindy Wolf was Clowny. At that point in the story, there wasn't a wolf character in the game. And a huge reason this theory was even made was because the wolf was one of the only characters from Peppa Pig not in Piggy. The reason this theory is also dumb is because don't you think if the Clowny character was a wolf, there would be any traits or identifying features on it? With the release of Book 2, Chapter 1, we actually got a wolf character, which was Willow. A ton of people thought that Zompiggy, who appeared in the Metro chapter of Book 1, was Grandpa Pig. Now, this theory was popularized by Creekcraft. There were 2 reasons on why this theory was made. First of all, because the Grandpa Pig character was, and still is, the only member of the Piggy family in Peppa Pig that is not in the game yet. And second of all, if you increase the contrast or brightness of a picture of Zompiggy, it will look like the outfit Grandpa Pig in Peppa Pig wears in the show. But I think this theory was later disproven because Minitoon said that Zompiggy was female or something. I don't really remember, but I can say for sure that this theory is wrong. There was also a theory floating around that Zompiggy was Patient Zero of Substance 128, but this theory was rather weak and was disproven in the true ending, which confirmed that the Piggy family were the first people to get the quote-unquote cure. This one is not really a theory, but rather a belief. People believe that Georgie's eyes, when or if he turned infected, are red. Now, this theory was only made because of the end cutscene of the Distorted Memory chapter, as in that cutscene Georgie turns infected, except he doesn't. The entire chapter was basically just a bad dream of Georgie, and this is obviously known by everyone. But some people thought that if Georgie were to ever turn infected, his eyes would be red, unlike his skin version, which has white eyes. Now, Georgie's infected eyes aren't red. It was most likely the red eyes were just part of the dream, and because it was just a dream, Georgie didn't know about the eye colors and how they mean something to the personality of the character, and so his mind just imagined them as red. This makes the skin version of Georgie more realistic. Now, this theory is very popular among pretty much every single series or show ever. Whenever a beloved character dies in a series or show, many people imagine ways in which they survived and think of it as what actually happened. Piggy is no different. Fan favorite character Bunny was introduced in Chapter 5, School of Book 1. And the character tragically met their end 2 chapters later in Chapter 7, Metro. So many people kept on believing that Bunny was in some way alive, but it was pretty obvious she wasn't. Neither was Doggy, but when Doggy died, there wasn't really any story. Same goes with Zizzy, because after the character's pretty clear infection in Chapter 3, Refinery of Book 2, people kept thinking that Zizzy was going to somehow come back or something. But there is not really any ending in the last chapter of the game in which the cure is used on Zizzy. Both of these theories were basically just coping strategies, if I'm going to be honest. Anyways, with that, the list is complete. Let me know any other theories that you thought of as dumb or simply untrue down in the comments below. And until then, thanks for watching, and peace.